Once upon a before time in 2015, I worked my way through nursing school as a waitress in a restaurant. This restaurant did not advertise. They prided themselves on word of mouth for their popularity. This is important. I had been there for several months at this point and had proved myself reliable and knowledgeable enough to help train new waiters. Not technically a trainer, but could be relied upon to support new workers once the trainers set them loose. We had one older guy who had just been released. He was a little awkward, little shy, and worried about mistakes. Absolutely expected, and he was great to work with. On the night of our tale, he was in the section next to mine, easy to keep an eye on, and easy to hop in and prop him up when he hid the weeds. This was his first night with his own complete section. Weeds would abound. I was ready. What he wasn't ready for was his first demanding round table of about 6 people, 20-somethings with attitude. He came to me worried and confused. They want Zais, but I don't think that that's on our menu, right? She says we have the ingredients and just make it, that the other location makes it all the time. Yes, I could have taught him to stand his ground, but nerves and first night with your own section isn't the time for this to go over well, so I told him ask the back line and see if they were willing. If not, I would talk to the table. Cooks were fine with it, basically a wrap if I remember correctly, so no problem. From our end, this was apparently the cue for the leader of the table to demand something every time he came to the table. As soon as he brought the last requested item, she needed something else. I thought it was possible and had been keeping an eye on him. Seeing his panicked face, I gave him a nod and started checking in on his other tables, slotting them into my own table cycles. Reasons I'm paired with him. This carried on for their entire meal, incredibly needy and demanding his full attention with zero apology or kindness. I made sure to catch him in the back to prepare for possibly getting no tip, but to calm the panic, and to remind him I would not be touching the tips from his other tables. Honestly, this poor guy looked like he was about to quit on the spot. This leader was rude and impatient and gave him no space to breathe. I was his emotional support animal at this point, but knowing he was at least twice my age made it even worse for him. The table had come in close to the end of the night, and ended up staying past our section's closing, so they were the last table on our side of the restaurant. Perks of closing with a new waiter, getting cut early. That's when he came to me asking how to do an employee discount, and they wanted to use more than one on a single ticket. Was that okay? I was confused. Wait, employee? That S when he shared that she had spent the entire meal berating and making fun of him because one, she was a trainer at our other location, and 2, he was the worst waiter she had ever seen. No wonder the other location made her special meals, and zero surprise he was such a wreck. On top of that, she was claiming there were multiple birthdays in the group, so free cakes all around, and she wants the birthday sung immediately. To say I was livid is saying lava is warm. I was ready to throw hands for this poor man. Instead, I told him to prep the cakes but don't go out yet. I would get the boss about employee discount. Not needed, we could do it ourselves. But this was UCHA special case, and I would gather the workers for the birthday song. Managers there were absolutely amazing. We loved each one and all of them had our backs. Very rare in restaurants, so this almost the best part. I gave the front-end boss a quick rundown of the table's antics. Remember the word-of-mouth restaurant mentality? Yeah, boss was not having a restaurant employee acting so cruelly, even if she wasn't his employee. I asked permission for what I wanted to do. He smiled and gave permission as he grabbed the employee numbers given for the discounts, which that trainer would have known could not be stacked, and told me he had a boss-to-boss phone call to make. I then ran to every employee I could grab. Remember, half the restaurant was closing down, so we had several people available, including a dishwasher, and gave them each the fastest explanation of the table and the plan. And then I told the poor nerve-wracked server that we were ready to drop cakes. The crowd that arrived to that 6-person tabletop was honestly the largest we had ever had for a birthday song, and I am pretty confident the largest that restaurant will ever have. We served free cakes in front of every seat, and leader had the most self-satisfied smirk as we all grinned ecstatically and lined up to sing. And, oh, did we sing? We all sang that birthday song as loud as possible. Please do recall they were the last table in the section. And for your imaginings, I should mention this table was in the corner as well. So while we were screaming the birthday song, it was bouncing back from that corner as well, and it was an excruciatingly long song. Their smiles dropped immediately, and hands covered their ears as they jumped with the audio onslaught. I know it hurt my ears, and that pain is something that still makes me smile to this day. We all stood there, giant group, happily screaming our restaurant's special happy birthday song, and it still warms my heart a decade later. More than that, while we were gathering and planning and destroying eardrums, our boss was making phone calls in the office. Yes, he called her restaurant manager and informed them of her behavior. And no, she didn't get stacked employee discounts, she didn't get her discount at all. I know, because I was there when she was handed the phone from my front-end manager at the host desk, and when she started to cry and tried to make her excuses for why she shouldn't be fired. But the general manager, one step below owner, since this was a small company with very few locations, had already been called. Her employee number had been shared and she was done. I'm not psychic, she could have gone back to her home location and convinced someone to hire her back. Anything is possible. But I know how she treated this poor guy, I know how I told the tale to my boss, and I know the quiet rage he so rarely touched when it was rage. I would have almost given up joining in that screaming song to be able to hear those phone calls. Almost.